Hello and welcome to the new and improved Real Monsters. I'm your host, Dr. Smoking Steen, and with me as always is my gorgeous co-host, Amy Rose.
Hi.
And today, this is the debut episode of the new Real Monsters. It's also a bit of an experiment, so we'll be tinkering with this a little bit for the next few weeks, but I think we got it down.
Hopefully.
This is a companion piece to Mini Monsters now, to the mini-sodes. And we are going to go through the 4 topics that you chose and did this week on the minisodes, which are crop circles, William Suff, Viosin, am I saying that right?
Yeah.
I keep getting that wrong. And Elizabeth Bathory.
Yeah.
So, and we're not going to do them in that order because I think some of them are more interesting than others. And I have more notes on 2 over...
I will let you introduce them. So.
I have more notes on William Suff and Elizabeth Bathory than I do on crop circles and levels.
How did you not find anything on crop circles?
It's not that I didn't find anything on crop circles. I can get right into crop circles. We'll do them first. But it's just... I don't find them... I don't know. Do you know what? Explain to the people what crop circles are first, and then I will give you my 2 cents on it.
So a crop circle, it can also be called a crop formation or a corn circle. It's a pattern created by flattening a crop, and usually a cereal. The term was first coined in the early 1980s by Colin Andrews. So they've been described as falling within the range of the sort of thing done in hoaxes by Tanner Edis, a professor of physics at Truman State University. So a lot of people get them mixed up as well with crop marks. Crop marks are archaeological features.
Yeah, you told me about them before with whatchamacallit above the fucking...
In Newgrange in the Boyne Valley.
And that there's other ones around it that you can see from the sky, from a drone view or a helicopter view.
Certain times of the year, a lot of them.
From the pattern in the grass.
But crop circles, obviously, like they what distinguishes them is that there's still crop there, but it's bent.
Yeah. Bent at the stalk, isn't it?
Bent at the stalk, yeah, exactly. So there are some say there's historical references to it. So in 1678, there is a news pamphlet called The Mowing Devil or Strange News Out of Hertfordshire. So that's claimed by some crop circle devotees to be the first depiction of a crop circle.
So from the start, was this seen as a UFO thing, or was this from the start seen as an art thing?
I am not sure, because there's a bit of pushback about that article by Jim Schnabel, if I'm saying his name right. So he doesn't consider it to be Schnabel. He doesn't consider it to be a historical precedent because it describes the stalks as being cut rather than bent.
But that's just kind of,
tomato.
Yeah,
well, not really, because if something lands, but you see the whole thing, like if something lands,
I know
it's
that.
going to bend it.
I thought you just meant in general, but I agree with that. Yeah. It's cut, obviously, it's an artistic thing. But when I first heard of crop circles, it would have just been your standard UFO shape in the middle of a field, a circle. There was no crazy designs. It wasn't like signs where you were getting these, and all the ones you see now that are really artistically done.
Very basic.
Patterns.
Maybe the aliens trying to contact us were more of the kind of primitive type back then, but they just...
Well, that's the other side of it, isn't it? Where they think that maybe it could be a message that they're sending rather than them landing. But it made more sense to me as a child when I first heard of it.
It was just them landing.
No, it was the ship landing and then taking off again.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea of it.
I think my big question to people who have crop circles would be, and an easy way to figure out whether it was man-made or alien-made is it basic or is it a mad, crazy pattern? And number 2, are there burn marks? Is there radiation there? Is there anything there at all that would indicate that something took off from there?
I think what people cling to with that is you never see the walking pattern into the crop circle for the people to have made it. There's never a trail.
But that's because you can walk amongst the crops. I know how they do the crop circles. I have seen videos. Because I was going to say that that's what people need to get used to with this show is you need to listen to Mini Monsters because I will interrupt Amy, and sometimes we mightn't even get to the end of this story. We might move on afterwards because you'll hear a lot of it in Mini Monsters anyway. This is a companionship piece. So, we don't need to go fully into crop circles because I do want to spend more time on the other ones.
Are you telling me to shut up?
No. I'm just saying that I'm just jumping ahead a little bit with, I know how it's done. I know it's the thing, it's a board and some fucking rope.
They used to think it might be downdrafts though.
They just...
Genuinely.
Making the patterns.
Like in the 19th century, there was this guy that
God is speaking to us through the...
But he thought that, when you see fairy rings, so they're like, like the mushrooms in the rings, and he thought they were caused by a downdraft from like the sky. So then people were like, okay, well maybe if they could be caused by a downdraft, maybe the crop circles are being caused by a downdraft of wind from the sky.
How far back did the crop circles go?
Well, okay, so those aren't technically crop circles. They're fairy. They're.
But just in general, I'm just wondering how far back do they go when you say there's archaeological signs of it.
Did I say there's crop circles? Yeah. No, I'm saying crop marks are archaeological.
But just in general.
Historical. Historically, 1678 was in this news
And what
pamphlet.
did they think it was?
Considering it was called the mowing devil, I'm pretty sure it was the good old devil.
Or they just thought it was demonic shit like.
Yeah, so the pamphlet tells of a farmer in Hertfordshire who, refusing to pay a price demanded by a labourer to mow his field, swore that he would rather the devil mowed it instead. So yeah, devil made.
Does that work? Oh, instead of paying anyone to cut my grass, or I cut my grass myself, I want the devil to do it. Devil, please come and cut my grass. Come on, devil, you can put whatever pattern you want in it. Go wild, go crazy. It'll be on brand for us anyway, so people will buy it. Just do it. Just so I don't have to.
Okay. Let's see who this one is out, Josh.
Hate cutting the grass.
Okay. Anyway. So then you had I remember these guys, Bauer and Short Charlie, I think is how you pronounce it. But they were the guys that they're responsible for like 90%
is
of
it
the
in England?
Circles. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them. They're the guys I saw with the plank of wood and they're basically holding like holding reins, kind of like the reins of a horse, like kind of
exactly.
Style, like they have the rope over the board like that, and they're stomping down on the board to make the pattern.
Yeah. And a lot of the crop circles as well in the UK, they're found kind of near places of historical and religious significance. So a lot of them are found near Stonehenge, and Avesbury is another. It's another prehistoric site. We've got 3 huge stone circles. It actually has the biggest stone circle in Europe, if not the world, I think. But a lot of crop circles in the UK as well are found near places. So you have to think like...
But that's it. But they're going to put them near places.
Exactly, it seems too obvious. Like.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Do you remember? And I actually saw one of these popped up again recently. I didn't click in the article. But do you remember those weird totems that were showing up around the world? Do you remember the ones out of the Space Odyssey, the big fucking metal rod?
Metal things, yeah. There was one of those. Wasn't that one of those in Ireland lately? Was that Scotland? Or did it just show up again in the last few weeks?
But yeah, that's what that reminds me of. It's just kind of putting them in places of significance to try and make it stand out. And I can
imagine crop circles were eerie to people when they first started. I mean, those things were kind of eerie to me when it first started. It happened during lockdown, wasn't it? No?
Oh yeah, the
big iron
things. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of eerie at the start. Now they're just... Yeah.
Well, especially considering what was happening.
Oh, yeah,
the end of the world is happening, and there's these random fucking rods showing up around the fucking world. We're fine. It's good. We survived.
Yeah.
We survived the apocalypse, people. But, so the mowing devil, that's basically all there really is to crop circles, isn't there? I mean...
What? It has to be the devil?
No, but that's all there is to it. It's rather an artistic thing. It's an alien thing or a demonic thing. But I mean, realistically, it's just artistic. Most people have come out. It's kind of like...
There are other theories, though, like freak tornadoes, ball lightning.
Fuck off with your freak tornadoes.
Ball lightning.
But but some of them are very detailed, especially since signs came out. You know, they're extremely
But there's
detailed.
Still always that chance that freak tornado, it might be 1 in however many million, but that freak tornado could make that.
Somewhere in the multiverse.
Yeah, exactly.
It happened.
Sentient freak tornado. So there's the weather, there's the paranormal, mostly extraterrestrial. And then there's my favourite explanation, which is wallabies.
What?
So in 2009, the Attorney General for the island state of Tasmania...
I literally have a note right here in front of me that just says Willy ? Willy ?
Oh yeah, that they're that's like downdrafts. They're those downdrafts that I was on about.
So this is nothing to do
just
with
kind of wind. Yeah,
right.
No. These wallabies in Tasmania. So it was the Attorney General stated that wallabies had been found creating crop circles in fields of opium poppies, which were being grown for medicinal use. So after consuming them...
Are you telling me that the heroin-addled fucking wallabies, that there wasn't one in there called Willy? Definitely Willy the heroin wallaby.
No.
I
unfortunately.
just pictured fucking Chappelle as Tyrone Bigham's Willy the Wallaby.
But like, I'm pretty sure it's
smoking up that poppy.
So Willy Willy, it's like a dust devil or a water spout kind of idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Willy Willy's like a devil thing.
No, like a dust devil, as in. Do you ever
Like
see?
Pazuzu. A nature devil, a nature kind of.
I would have
demon.
thought like a dust devil was the natural kind of. Do you ever see it on TV?
No. Like a kind of
2 seconds, because I'm finding this really hard to put into words.
like a little tornado,
Yeah.
like the Tasmanian devil running around the place.
See, I was about to say that, but I was like, this is going to sound ridiculous.
Well, no, everyone knows what Taz looks like when he's running around the
Yeah,
place.
a dust devil is a strong, well-formed, relatively short-lived whirlwind. Whirlwind was the word I was looking for, and I couldn't think of it.
Tornado.
Whirlwind. No, whirlwind. Tornado to me is massively destructive. Like this thing is more like a gentle.
But they're very similar, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay,
And probably not the cause of crop circus.
that's true. But I would believe that it was the wallabies if they were like completely stoned, because they've done this with spiders, where they've given spiders different drugs to see like caffeine and heroin and things like that, to see what webs. Yeah, and there's some of them that were actually quite cool, and then there were some of them that really they weren't webs at all. They weren't catching anything in them.
Yeah, I think that was like meth and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, everything.
The harder, really hard ones or something like that.
Yeah, there was
like
one of them that was
mess.
though genuinely class.
I believe it was the one I advocate usually.
I think it might have been after.
Or else it was LSD, yeah. Doing mushrooms probably as well.
Yeah.
I gotta look that up. If there's a video there, I'll put it up on TikTok.
Oh, the spider.
They'll allow me.
Every single thing.
You tell them you say TikTok sucks once on their website, and suddenly
They scream everything. And then they're like,
I'm
oh,
getting
sorry
taken
guys,
out
we
for
got it wrong.
misinformation. Yeah, but I'm being really fucking bitchy back at about it. Like when we put up, they put up. They put us up. It was
nice name, TikTok.
Misinformation when it was a video about us talking about watching Poor Things and Immaculate.
Us explaining what happened to our internet, and they were like, misinformation.
And I messaged them back, and I was just like, I can, in fact, ensure you that I did watch Immaculate, and I did watch.
I have
is my
witnesses.
opinion of the movie. We won every appeal, so
We did.
go fuck them. Anyway, so do you have anything else on crop circles? Or have we done enough on crop circles?
We kind of did enough on crop circles.
Nearly
I
15
mean,
minutes
like,
on crop
yeah.
circles. I didn't even think we were going to get 5.
See?
Next one I want to do is the French one. Let's get the Frenchie out of the way.
La Voisin.
I'm only taking the piss French people because I know we have at least one French fan.
I don't know how to say that part. La Voisin.
It sounds right to me.
Cool. So she was Catherine Monvoisin, or Née Deschays, if I'm saying that right. My French is absolutely terrible.
Your French is better than mine, so don't even look at me asking.
So she was a French. She was a French fortune teller. She was a commissioned poisoner, and she was.
I will remind you that this whole shift in shows happened because of my inability to pronounce names and the anger that would happen while I tried to do it.
But you can do it when the mic's off, like.
I know. The minute I click pause, I can say the word again.
Yeah. She was also a provider of alleged sorcery. So she was the head of a network of fortune tellers in Paris, providing poison, aphrodisiacs, abortions, magical services, and the arranging of black masses, which I've seen. I've seen this on TV, these black masses that she used to do where like the issue a baby would be killed. And now they're not sure if the baby was always killed or if the baby had died first, like, do you know? But like the blood of the baby would be used. And I always thought, I seen this in Versailles on
with
TV.
your fucking women this week, didn't you?
But I seen it on TV and it looked so far-fetched that I was a bit like, And then when I was reading up on it, and it was it actually happened.
We watched Late Night with the Devil this week, and I said it to you, I was like, fuck yeah. When we were watching, I was like, that Grove thing is real.
It's real.
And you were like, what? And I was like, the Grove thing is real. It's Bohemian Grove. It's a real thing. This actually happens. They go off into the woods and they do these, apparently, musicals for each other. Hundreds of men go into the woods together and do musicals and dramas and
whatever floats your boat, genuinely. I mean,
they really liked to keep highlighting that they pee and poop outside for these 2 weeks.
That's because it makes him feel manly.
Well, no, it was
I
also
feel manly
used
when
in
I gotta
court
do it.
to avoid having to hire women.
What?
Well, they used it as an excuse in court to avoid having to hire women.
Because they pee and poop outside.
Yep. They didn't want the women to walk around, and on top of it, they didn't want to have to feel uncomfortable with it. And this was something that was traditional, and it was built into the club, and this is what they did. So this is just, you'd have to put up with it. And they didn't work out for them. I think they still managed to keep women away from the. They've had like 2 or 3 honorary members.
Mm-hmm. Nobody in
the
honor members are
they allow them in as visitors a lot, as guests, but none of them are allowed official status. I don't think, because the other guys don't want to be peeing and pooping outside with them while they do their musicals.
If you're too
in their posh tents,
I'm sure they could all chip in to afford a few porta potties, like. Genuinely.
But I think the point is, it's them getting back to nature. It's them being, I mean, apparently, like, no business is spoken at this, because that's like one of the people who infiltrated it. One of them was Alex Jones, so we can't believe a word he says. The other one, I can't remember his name, but he said that it basically felt like a bunch of guys who had reached the pinnacle of their career, but mentally had never left the fraternity. Were still fucking frat boys and didn't know what to do with themselves outside of their job, So these 2 weeks away in Bohemian Grove, and then all the other fucking stupid shit they do throughout the year in Bohemian Grove is just basically dumb frat boy kind of shit.
Okay.
But because they kept it, and they're really secretive. I mean, like, they have got the top level security, fucking like ex-military guys, protecting this place and watching it. So it's really hard to get in and out, and it's even worse when they're actually there. It's guarded year round, but when they're actually have an event on there, apparently it's like fucking next to impossible to get in and out there.
Try and infiltrate it.
If Alex Jones can do it, anyone can do it.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it can't be.
It can't be that fucking good.
Unless they've tightened things since he managed it.
Fucking hell. But that's what she reminded me of, because they're rumoured to have these black masses, and that was in Late Night with the Devil. The whole point of that fucking movie is that he might have done something at the Grove that led to his misfortune.
Yeah.
But I can imagine as well the cult in it, the black masses there. Do you remember the cult? There was very much kind of that kind of style as well, wasn't it?
Out in the woods.
They kind of hint. No, do you remember where the possessed girl comes from?
Oh, she was the sacrifice. Is that what they were hinting at?
That there was baby sacrifices there as well. I'm not too sure. Can't remember.
We should probably watch it again. We will watch it again.
It was a good movie.
But anyway, so the thing about La Viosin was that, the thing that I think is most interesting about her, that it even happened at the time, was that her most important client was Madame de Montespan. So she was the official royal mistress to King Louis XIV of France at the time. So it was alleged that Montespan hired La Viosin in 1667 to arrange a black mass, and that the mass was celebrated in a house in Paris. So there was 2 kind of prominent fortune tellers of the time, I suppose you'd call them. They officiated the black mass, and Montespan prayed that the king would love her. So it kind of actually worked.
Okay.
So basically she became the mistress of the king that year.
But that's the other thing. It's like one note I have written down here from when you were reading it on Mini Monsters, and that was, she sounds like a comic book or a sci-fi bad guy.
Well, yeah, she kind of didn't turn down anything, did she? She had a whole ring of abortionists. There was this scandal called...
I also have a note here that says, I'd have cleaned up back then with those gullible fools.
Oh yeah, that was the fortune telling. She was like a central figure in this thing called the Affaire des Poissons, and so that was basically, it was a major murder scandal in France, and there was more than a few prominent members of the aristocracy were all poisoning each other, and obviously the poison was coming from her and her poison ring. France seems cutthroat. It seems lovely now, but it seemed cutthroat back then.
But I only realised this week when, again, after hearing Mini Monsters and listening to you read it, and then all that talk about poison, and I kind of stopped and I thought to myself, I was like, if anybody could kill me, it was you. It would be you, because I wouldn't question anything you've given me to eat or drink ever. Easily poison you. Anything she wants to, she can do.
I've thought that about you before, but still I'm like, he's never going to do it.
Oh yeah, but that's it. No. Obviously, I eat all your food. I trust you.
Or now that I know I've got your trust. She used to make love powders as well, and the love powders, they'd have the bones of toads, the teeth of moles, Spanish fly, iron filings, human blood, and mummy, which isn't actually mummy. So it's not like, I know I've said before the Victorians were awful for eating and sprinkling mummy dust everywhere, but this mummy is it's basically how would you describe it? It's kind of like mineral pitch. It looks like tar, like, so it's more of a substance that you kind of like grind down, as opposed to a mummy that they got in Egypt. Yeah, because there is two different ones, but like the mummies, the powdered mummies were used, but just
powdered mummy. Some powdered mummy. Yeah. That would explain why I have a note here saying Wickerman chemist.
Oh yeah. She used to use not mummies, but like human remains. So they weren't mummies, but like they were big humans, like being broken down and put into those love potions as well. I'd love to know if the love potions worked, because getting off with the king worked.
But I mean, that could work in modern day with just the right fucking pheromone spray, couldn't it? Yeah,
what do you call that thing? Vabbing? Is that what you call it? The thing that I was on about? I don't even want to talk about it. Just, no. No, but apparently that works fragrance. As well. No, yuck. So she was arrested and convicted of witchcraft, and she was burned like 2 days afterwards. The thing about her was her connections were so strong that when she was arrested, there was technically an order in place to get her information by like torturing her. But it was never put into effect because the king was too worried about whose names were going to come out and who was going to be implicated. I didn't know there
if you were going to say her connections were good, like the Godfather's connections were good, or her connections were good, like her connections to the other side were so good that people were afraid to do shit. I questioned
those connections, but no, her connections were Godfather good, like, as in, like, she had her hand in absolutely fucking everything.
She dirt on everybody.
Everybody. She was. I suppose you would have, in her profession, she was very well respected.
So why didn't she rat them all before she was put to fire then? If it would have gotten
she was still, it wasn't going to get it. She was still going to be burned. She was still going to be.
So she went out like a proper gangster in the end, a proper mafia.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you have this woman who just proved killed babies for masses, fucking how many abortions, sold poison, you were never going to get out of the death penalty, like.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, we're going to cover a topic later where
if you know that you're not being tortured because you're not giving away names,
hold on 1 second.
Why make it worse for yourself?
We are literally at the end of the show going to cover a woman who did just as bad as shit, possibly very similar stuff, and she didn't get the death penalty. She didn't fucking get killed.
Because
she had connections.
Do you know why? Because it's all bullshit. 90% of it. The woman was framed.
Oh, Amy's a conspiracy theorist.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just believe that women were treated very poorly, and that a lot of shit was pinned on a lot of influential women because they had power and influence at the time.
I will leave Suff to last because I think you want to get into this one because it fits nicer in because they are very, very similar.
Very similar, except one was guilty. Definitely guilty.
Well, I have all that written down here as well, and it was one of the first things I put down was propaganda and question mark, like, you know. But do you want to head into it and tell us a little bit about Elizabeth Bathory?
Okay. So, Elizabeth Bathory was a Hungarian noblewoman and alleged serial killer from the Bathory family who owned land in the Kingdom of Hungary, which is now Slovakia. So she and 4 of her servants were accused of torturing and killing hundreds of girls and women from 1590 to 1610. Her servants were put on trial and they were convicted, whereas you said Bathory was just imprisoned, and she died under mysterious circumstances.
Her servants sound hilarious and scary at the same time. It sounds like a horror movie.
It does that. It would make a good. I don't know. I've seen movies about it, but true movies. Dracula. I haven't seen a horror movie
with Ingrid Pitt, who is extremely animated on the documentary I watched about Elizabeth Bathory.
She was my first woman alleged serial killer that I ever read about, and I just been fascinated by the whole fucking thing.
Well, that's because it is a fascinating story. I mean, obviously it's a fascinating story. They're kind of crediting her with possibly being an influence for Dracula, and you could see why.
But there was no notes ever found in Stoker's journals. Do you know, like the journals where he would have had his rough work? Like you, like us with mind maps, although I'm sure Stoker didn't use mind maps. I still use mind maps. But anyway, they never found anything saying that, like, do you know, like, she was an influence.
Remember before when we were covering the Maniac, Frank Zito, and I wrote that whole script, and I had to write the backstory between him and his mom.
Yeah.
And then when I finished writing it, and I had it all fucking finished and done, and we were recording it, you turned around and you were like, that's why do I keep forgetting this guy? Kemper's story. A Kemper story.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, fuck, you're right. So, I mean, it could be in the back of your head.
It kind of lines up with Vlad Tepes.
Does it? Yeah. But wasn't he just a fucking warmonger?
He was Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, he was just
that's where he got the he was travelling around apparently.
Oh, I'm getting that. I'm just saying that it does not say there mightn't have been this background.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Head, you know? She's clearly allegedly drinking blood.
I had no idea that I was writing Kemper's story until you pointed out to me, and I was like, "Holy shit! Yeah, that's just a Kemper story mixed in with the Maniac." And I was like, "Well, that kind of suits what we're doing anyway, so that's fine. We'll go with that."
But the thing about Elizabeth, she was from a hugely influential on both sides family, and she married into an influential family.
The documentary I was watching said that her family would have been brutal, vicious, bloodthirsty, so that she was brought up around violence from a very early age. They told one story about there was this one guy, I can't remember the backstory to it, but the way they killed him was they cut open a horse, put him inside the horse, and stitched the clothes with only his head hanging out and left the both of them there to die. And she witnessed all this happening. So she was kind of around it.
She was made witness things like that on purpose. Like she was trained to be cruel because as in like that's how the family lived. Like.
And I will say as well that nearly everybody, even the people who would be on your side, said that she was definitely 100% cruel and violent to her servants. But they also added that every noble person was cruel and mean to her.
It's not a stereotype.
Because to them, they were literally insects. They were there to be used and played with and to do what they want with.
Yeah, 100%.
And if you believe the story of her serial killing, no one really gives a shit about what she's doing until she starts killing noble women or daughters of noblemen and stuff like that.
Oh, come here! It seems that like in around the time that Bathory was around, when you go kind of further over into Europe, like the Italians, there's stories there that are vicious. There's this one guy that used to pose like his enemies that he'd killed like in Last Supper formation, like one by one, like they'd go in like. There's a lot of nasty stories.
Next week. Nothing.
Oh yeah. Forgot
but see, that's the other thing. Like, the documentary I watched was by what's her fucking name again? I have it written here somewhere. She's the one that writes the crime books.
Nicola. No, it's an N word.
I wrote this down so that I wouldn't forget her name because I always forget her name. Always forget her name.
But starts with N, I'm almost sure.
I can't think of it. And it's not here in front of me for some reason.
1 minute.
Cole, I think, might be her second name.
What's it called?
Martina Cole. Is Martina Cole?
That sounds familiar.
But she's a proper fucking London girl. and the only thing that was weird, though, she pronounced some words really weird in that documentary.
Like what?
Like decade.
Decade.
I was like, what? It sounds like she's saying dickhead really, really fast.
Where's she from?
Oh, it's London. It's out. No, I mean, she sounds like she could be fucking in EastEnders, like. She sounds like she could be Danny Dyer's fucking. She sounds like she could be Danny Dyer's fucking sister, like.
Ah.
But Martina Cole, I'm pretty sure. She had a good TV show there at one point. I'm pretty sure Tom Hardy was in it. It was on Sky. It was only like a 3 or 4 part miniseries, but it was all gangster stuff. She writes all kind of UK kind of mafia shit is what she writes.
Yeah,
you know. But it was her documentary series of the world's most dangerous women.
Oh, I
and this episode was obviously on Elizabeth.
And how did she speak about it? How did she feel about it?
She reckons it's kind of split down the middle, where there's a lot of evidence to show that she was...
That there was something.
She said that she probably was a serial killer, probably was a violent serial killer, probably did torture a lot, but that the drinking and bathing in blood stuff was all made up, probably made up, and that the cleaning up of her image is known to have been something that happened in Hungary at some period. That at a period of time that the Hungarians decided first of all, when she was arrested and she was locked up, that a lot of documents and records were burnt to get rid of any evidence of her. And then when it was out there, they tried to start cleaning up her image by saying that she was running back alley abortions clinics for women who couldn't get abortions legally, and that she was doing medical work, and that's why it seemed like there was these women going to her castle or house or whatever and not coming back.
Girls were sent to learn etiquette from her. Yeah.
They were going to get abortions, and it was going wrong because and that's why they were dying and going missing. And that was the reason. That's why the Hungarians were claiming was the reason behind it, and that her name had been tarnished because the men at the time wanted to take possession of her land. Because obviously her husband was a very influential man as well, a rich man, and he had a lot of property and a lot of power.
Yeah.
And when he died in battle, and he was like, I have that written down as well, that was a match made. That was an arranged marriage made in fucking heaven. Yeah. Like, they were crazy about it, because I have that written here as well as The Great. That their story reminds me of The Great, except she's also evil.
Yeah.
But it just seemed kind of like they were set for each other. But to me, if you believe everything, it sounds like someone with a lot of money
who got bored,
a huge sex drive.
Yeah.
And just kept taking things to the extreme, and there was no one there to tell her to stop.
I would say though that there is some grounds in her drinking the blood and bathing in the blood, even because she was known to have fits, and they think that it might have been epilepsy. And a common cure for epilepsy at the time was to rub the blood of a non-sufferer on your lips, or you give the
Does that work?
No, it was no. That's why I said the cure at the time.
Okay,
are you serious?
Well, I mean, they must have tried this at some point and it stopped, and then they must have tried it on somebody else and it stopped. So I was just wondering, is this some fucking strange, fucked up thing? Do you know what they also tried and it didn't stop?
Was drilling fucking holes in people's skulls.
That's true too, yeah. Well, it worked for what they wanted it to do at the time.
Or else they gave the epileptic person a mix of the non-sufferer's blood and a piece of the skull. Then after the fit ended.
Okay.
So the person was dying. They're giving you a piece of the skull. Yeah. So I mean, if she was epileptic, that could be a reason for. I mean, you shouldn't be going around killing people. But
I know. But there seems to be a lot of fucking. They could go anyway with this fucking woman. Yeah. There's a lot of different avenues. I mean, we said that a lot of people say that it was just a case of people wanting the men wanting to come in and take her land, because she was a very powerful. She held on to the husband's power, when he died, and which was uncommon for the time. Mm-hmm. And she was kind of business-wise, she was in a very powerful position,
Yeah.
And again, for a woman at that time. And I mean, what's all this shit about Transylvania then? If you're saying that she's no fucking relation to Dracula and she's hanging around, you cannot tell me that the woman that they fucking believed soaked in blood and drank blood and happened to have a castle in Transylvania has nothing to fucking do with Dracula.
So
that never, ever, ever crossed Bram Stoker's mind of, do you know who else fucking came from Transylvania that drank blood?
So her brother was kind of like a ruler in Transylvania. Her paternal great-grandmother was a member of the influential Polish-Lithuanian Radziwill family, and then she was a niece through her mother of Stephen Bathory, who was the Prince of Transylvania. So he actually became King of Poland. So I mean, she did have connections, but I mean, Bathory and Tepes, they're different.
I know. I know they're different. All I'm saying is that when the man picked Transylvania as the backdrop, when the Irishman picked the Romanian fucking town of Transylvania as his fucking backdrop for his blood drinking demon fucking story, surely at some point in his research, this woman popped up.
Yeah.
You know, at some point he had to have put the connection of the woman who is known for drinking fucking virgin blood to Transylvania and make that connection. Like, had to happen.
Okay.
So she has to have some influence in Dracula.
Yeah, no, I can see how.
Well, yeah, what else? I have something else here that I wanted to say about her. I know I can't remember. But do you know what she reminded me of as well? Was in fucking Outlander. Do you know the way, like, I'm always saying, like, the way fucking, what's the name? Claire, first, that's her, yeah?
Gets herself into trouble every fucking episode.
Well, outside of that, showing some of her medical ideas from the future could get her. I've often said it's like, why are they not screaming witch at this woman? Do you know?
They did.
I know that, but it seems like as well, like what I was saying, that could have been a part of this as well. That, you know, that this woman might have just been fucking medically minded, but that doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
There was girls being sent to her house for etiquette lessons that weren't coming back, like.
And she had, I'm sorry, but she had an evil fun-sized friend.
Oh yeah.
I mean, her gang. She had a gang, like a weird, creepy gang. And when I was listening to the documentary, it sounded like fucking the Firefly house from fucking House of 1,000 Corpses.
Okay. Right.
I mean, there was one thing they were like, that she was like, was she like whipping some woman while two of her other servants who helped her kill were hooting her on, and they described the small person as screaming sexual slurs at the woman.
Hang on, is this when she was caught? Because it's the common misconception that she was actually at dinner when
I don't
came
know.
and raided
I don't know when they said about her getting caught. What they said basically was that she had been doing it for years when it came to servants and peasants.
Yeah,
and nobody gave a shit.
I know.
And then she was starting to run out of servants and peasants and stopped giving a shit. And suddenly it was any girl she could get her hand on.
Yeah.
And there was that documentary did lean in as well on her being bisexual. And that she had that it was a sexual thing, like, you know, that she was turned on by all this killing and blood and all this kind of stuff and taking it as far as she can.
Yeah.
But that it was when she started taking out noblemen's daughters.
Oh, exactly.
That the noblemen had or the king or something had I don't know, emperor. I can't remember, emperor, probably emperor, had an investigation launched against her, and then they managed to get the evil fun-sized man. All I can picture is the leprechaun. They got the leprechaun guy, and they got her other two servants to confess, and they were put to death. They tortured and put to death.
Oh, they had their fingers ripped off and all.
And she was basically put on house arrest in her nice, massive palace for the rest of her life, which wasn't very long, I believe. It was like a couple of years.
There's some stories about that she was basically holed up in a room as well. And then then
it was a suspicious death as well. There was something about it being a suspicious death. I don't know exactly what that suspicious
I think she said it was kind of like the one evening she said, oh, it's cold, and then like her soldier or her guard, whatever, said, oh, look, it'll be fine, just go to sleep. So she just went to sleep and just
didn't wake up.
Yeah. It's not an exciting death. I mean, she could have been poisoned or whatever. I mean, they weren't going to do an autopsy on her.
No. That's what at that point they were probably just happy to
bury it.
Especially if it was true. What do you think? Do you think like
I think it was probably true. No, not pure propaganda. I think it was true to a certain extent. I do believe though that it was exaggerated. Like if she was
as well back then, like what else are they going to be talking about? That's going to be like your horror movie.
Yeah.
So they are going to exaggerate it, and that story's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's Chinese whispers eventually. But by the time we get to this era, it's something completely fucking different from what actually happened at the time.
Exactly.
And it's all historical, which brings me to my next question. This is your first week doing it.
What?
How did you find covering?
No, I didn't like it.
A real serial killer.
I didn't like it.
Historical is easier because you can disassociate. But when you're talking about some fat cunt from the 90s going around strangling and cutting off boobs, it all gets a bit more real.
Yeah, no, I didn't like it.
And that will be our last subject
you might
today.
do the next time.
William Suff. Huh?
I think those ones you might do the next time. We'll do one heavy one a week, and you can do that.
This was it. No, to be honest, this was picked at random.
Yeah.
But when I read it to myself, it was like the reason I had to fucking dive into this was I could not understand how this guy could be from the 90s and we haven't heard of him.
I've never heard of him. I don't know.
He could be John Wayne Gacy's brother.
Yeah, looking at him. Yeah.
They're identical to each other. Mm-hmm. They're the same weight, face. They literally look like brothers.
But he's a guy that never should, like, he bet his 2-month-old daughter to death, and after that he should never have been let out of jail.
No, I suppose, okay, all right, I won't make you go through all
I'm not talking about, no.
I
was going to word it differently, like, but then when I was talking about it, and like the names are there, like, you kind of have to name them, as in... I don't know.
It gets heavy. It can get heavy.
Yeah.
You kind of have to disassociate yourself a little bit from the what you're reading. That's why I think, again, this has been pointed out in other podcasts I listen to. Sometimes that's the reason you haven't heard of people like William Suff. Why you have heard of Gacy, why you have heard of Bundy, why you had heard of Dahmer is because as much as Dahmer, Bundy, Gacy, and I don't know, fucking Jack Ripper and all that will be maybe your Mount Rushmore of serial killers, the ones everybody knows. They're the ones everyone knows because they're the easiest stories to digest.
Yeah.
And then when you get into someone like William Suff and you see his background and it's like, this person is absolutely fucking stomach-turning, really disgusting, and I don't want to... It is where I was kind of borderline with BTK, but BTK's story was so fucking interesting. Backstory was so interesting. He was a boring motherfucker, but it was just so interesting how he managed to balance everything and work everything. And again, very similar to the person I'm going to cover next week on the show and on
It's Alive
Alive. And episode 2 of the series we're about to get into, the guy we'll be talking about in episode 2 is heavily fucking inspired by Dennis Rader.
Yeah.
But it is a lot fucking harder. So William Suff, hang on, I don't have his information up in front of me. I only have notes. I'll pull up his info here. I'm not going to get into detail. If you want the details, listen to Mini Monsters on all good podcast providers right now. But basically, he was known as the Riverside Prostitute Killer and the Lake Eisner Killer. He had they were shit nicknames. Do you know what they were? But so Terrell is how you pronounce that woman's name. You were wondering.
Terrell. I was like Taro.
She got in a little bit of trouble for this too, but it seems like her conviction was reversed. But it doesn't seem like she's to blame. She didn't seem like a terrible woman. And again, it wasn't exactly like he went on to not beat his other kids. So, I mean,
yeah. But there wasn't enough evidence to convict her as like an accomplice or as primary.
No, she was at work. So he kind of like, how do I describe it? He hooks up with her. They fall in love with each other.
Okay.
They do. They fall for each other and they hook up. And I think at the time he had already started killing, from what I know. Let me check here. 74 was when he started killing. He was with her in 76. The conviction happened. So 74. No, yeah. So about the same time. So yeah, maybe this kid was his first kill, I would assume. Yeah. But basically, what they reckon happened here was they got married, married, and she got pregnant, and then she had the kid. And the problem was he was a psychopath with no feeling and had no emotion towards the child whatsoever. Jesus. So first she actually had another child with somebody else.
Oh, and how did that child fare?
Sorry. She had a child with somebody else.
Aww.
And he asked her to marry him. And she said no, because look, I'm pregnant by someone else and I don't want you to have it. And he said, no, I'll take care of the kid. And he joined the Marines. And when she got to the base, he told her, sorry, no kids are actually allowed in the base. So he sent the child to go live with his parents.
Okay.
And Yuan just had to give up her child like for this period of time. And then she got pregnant with his kid.
Okay.
And because he had no emotion or feeling towards the child was just an inconvenience. And at the same time, he lost his position. He got kicked out of the army.
Shit.
So she's going out to work now every day and he's minding the kid. But
he can't take it.
The best way that this criminologist explained it on the documentary was, it was like a case of stuff that he could use on his wife to get his way. He was trying to use on a fucking 3-month-old, 4-month-old baby.
How do you mean? Oh.
So, like, you know, like where he could fucking intimidate and scream and hit his wife.
He was trying to do that? Okay.
He was trying to do this to a baby who just starts screaming harder when you hurt it, or starts screaming harder when you roar to make loud noises at it, and which was frustrating him, so he was getting more violent with the child.
Of course, yeah.
And apparently, like, the wife had said it to him a few times, like, you know, that she was going to leave him if he kept going, and then he rang her at work one day and said the baby isn't breathing, like, and she'd come home. And what he did was he blamed his son, his older son, who was there at the time, and said the son was fucking hugging the baby too hard and didn't know what he was doing, and obviously killed the baby. But they were saying that didn't line up at all with medical fucking things.
The marks and all.
No, there was cigarette fucking marks on this child, like. So obviously they didn't buy that fucking story, and he was supposed to do 20 years and did 10, I think.
Did 10.
Was it 20 years he got? Hang on one second.
He was sentenced to 17, did 10. He was released on parole in 1984.
Fucking hell. And the more, again, look, if you want the gory, dirty details, listen to Mini Monsters. It's up there. Episode 112, I think. So you can get into it and you can go through all the victims. There's Rhonda Jetmore, Kimberly Little, Christina Leal, Darla, Jane Ferguson, Carol Lynn Miller, Cheryl Croker, Susan Melissa Strenfeld, Kathleen Leslie Millin, Sherry Ann Latham, Kelly Marie Hammond, Catherine McDonald, Delia Zamora, Eleanor Casares, fucking hell, Michelle Yvette Gutierrez, Charlotte Jean Palmer, Linda Anna, or fucking hell, I thought there was only like 12 of these.
No,
Martha Bess Young, Diana May Rivera, Julie Lynn Angel, and Cherie Michelle Passeur. So this guy, his MO was fucked up, because he'd get the prostitute, sleep with them, and then he would strangle them and cut off their boobies. Now, I was wondering when it came to the cutting off the boob thing, because of the time as well. And he wasn't the only guy to do this. Shit. It's only the guys that have been on Mindhunter. I can't remember their fucking names. Jerry. I'll get it. Jerry. Fuck! Jerry with the shoe fetish. Jerry. Fuck. Jerry Brunos.
Don't know.
I don't know why I'm even bringing him up now, because I was so busy trying to think of him.
Oh, he cut off the breast.
Oh yeah, he was another guy who cut off the boob. He used to use them as paperweights.
Yeah, I actually.
The wife would see him around the house, and she'd think they were novelty things he bought or made, like, and then didn't think anything of it.
Jesus.
And the Chicago Rippers used to do the same thing. And I was just wondering in my own head, because of the timeline, and because a lot of these guys then would act like they're completely fucking, homophobic. And then you had Brunos, who was trying on women's shoes and stuff like that, and had a fascination with women's shoes. Do you think that there might have been a thing, because trans wasn't as open and easy back then, in their mind that was the thing, like, that they were angry at the women for having something they wanted? That they wanted to be the woman, like, almost like Buffalo Bill style, I'm going to build a woman's suit, like, but instead of building one, they're taking out their aggression by removing the sign of their womanly kind of features,
Yeah, maybe.
After they had already done dirty things to them themselves, like,
Yeah.
That's just thought. And then this guy as well, like, and this is the reason I was so surprised I haven't heard of him as well, is when they finally started linking his cases, right? And they built a task force for this.
Okay.
He started fucking mocking him a little bit.
How do you mean?
He started picking them up and posing the bodies closer to the police station.
Yeah.
One girl, this is a really fucked up. He picked up one girl, and she felt really uncomfortable in the car.
Okay.
And when he basically made a deal with her, and he took her to McDonald's, and he went in, got a burger and stuff and all that, and she was eating in the car. And he basically said, let's go here and we'll have sex. And she was like fucking feeling like she knew something was wrong.
Okay.
And as he was about to take off on a McDonald's, she jumped out of the van and ran away. And he was kind of screaming at her. And then she said she ran away, but she kind of fell over. And then she saw him pulling up down the road, and she saw her friend, who's also a prostitute, go up to the van and start talking to him. And she was screaming at her, saying, "Don't get in the van, don't get in the van, don't get in the van." And she got in the van, and he went away and he raped and killed her.
Jesus.
And then he took that body, and this was the freshest body they found. Okay. He put her down an alleyway close enough to the police station, but he had her legs spread open wide and naked, and left her there. And he had a thing of doing this as well. Like he would, pose the body, he'd leave them out in the open and stuff like that. He got done for 12 out of the 13 murders because one of the bodies was found on a patch of green behind a gas station. And when the detectives were there trying to collect evidence, the sprinkler fucking system turned on.
Oh,
and it was tainted the evidence, and there was 2 pockets of semen found in this woman. And one of them were his, so they know it was him, but the other one was someone else's. And because the evidence had been washed away and tainted, they couldn't prove it, so they could never get a conviction on that last one.
Fuck. Yeah.
But they got a conviction on all the other ones. And they were saying the worst part about this guy was, and there is that, it's similar to what we were just talking about with Elizabeth Bathory.
Yeah.
Because they were hookers, they got a small task force and they put a little bit of manpower into it. If this was college girls getting picked off in the same manner, there would have been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of men on the force looking for him.
Absolutely.
And he went on. He went on a kill spree. That was another thing. Like they left out a little bit of evidence, a little thing in the newspaper. The chief of police, I don't know, he decided to leave. I don't know what logic, what they expected to happen here, because the minute they said what they did, I knew what was coming. They've left it out in the newspaper that he primarily targeted white women and had moved on to Mexico or to Latino women.
Okay.
And that they were his primary suspects, but he never touched black women. Next target, black woman. As in saying, "Fuck you, you don't know who I'm going for. I'll take what I want." There's nothing you can do to stop me,
Yeah.
In the end, the girl that got away, that saw her friend go into the car, was able to give him a good description and give him a description of the car and a description of him. The van. And they eventually convinced the police to put more money into there was just going to be a week-long hardcore search where they were going to stop everybody. They were going to watch for everyone. They were watch for this van, watch for this suspect. And they knew where he's trolled. It was University Avenue. Okay. And they were going to watch that area. And anyone trying to pick up hookers, it was like pull them over and check them. So this motorcycle cop, saw the van, followed him going down to University Avenue, and it waited for him, and he made an illegal turn or something, and the cop pulled him over. And he said once the cop got a look at him, he was like, "This guy looks like the drawing." The car, man. Oh, and that was the other thing. The evidence left behind at the scenes was building up against him was the tire marks on the van.
Okay.
And his shoes.
Oh,
so they took a shoe imprint and made a 1-to-1 scale size, and then went to every shoe shop they could and checked every sole of every shoe to find the shoe.
Did they do this to Ted Bundy as well?
No, they did it to Ramirez.
That's who it was.
And then his girlfriend, he had another girlfriend with another baby, and he was doing the same shit to the baby again, the new baby.
Jesus.
But she bought him a pair of Converse shoes for Christmas or his birthday or something, and he wore them. And they got an imprint of that. But then they were able to tell that there was 4. They were able to, because of the tire marks at the scenes, they were able to match the 4 tires, what brand of tires they will be, to the grooves on them and what position they'd be on the van.
Okay.
So when they pulled him over, he rang his superiors, and his superior was like, "What brand is the front tire driver's side?" And he was like, "This is the brand." "Okay, what brand is the tire backside tire?" "Right, check that one." That matched up. Freeze the scene. We have him. And then when they caught him, they found a knife in there that had blood on it.
Yeah.
They found that the carpet in the back of the van matched fibres found on all the bodies. And he was pretty much done, but he wouldn't admit to anything. He said something strange. I can't remember what it was. He said something strange.
Is he dead now?
No, he's on death row. He's still on death row.
Okay.
And that's the thing. And the fucked up thing about it is as well was another girl got away earlier on. And I said this again. I said it in some show we were talking about it lately, and I still believe it. They let this guy get through his fingers because he did a bad job at his first attempted murder. Attempted murder should be treated exactly like a murder charge.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you attempt it and fail, just means you were bad at killing. You still had the mentality to do it and go for it. You're getting the same charge as a murder charge. And that would have stopped this guy before he started.
100%.
Instead, he ran through 13, at least that they know of. They suspect much, much more when it comes to this guy. But 13 that they know of. That he was responsible for. And you know what was fucked up? This is a really fucked up story. He's one of his last... Was it his last one? The black girl.
Yeah.
When she was found, he used to work a kind of delivery driver for office supplies and all this kind of like, you know, fucking desks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He had 2 detectives in from the task force who were just being put on the case as well, who were there to collect their office furniture, to go to the office to fucking try and find him. And they got a message, you know, they got a fucking beeper saying, oh, we have, you know, contact us. And they asked him, can we use the phone here to call dispatch? And he was standing there listening to the 2 cops on the phone discussing the murder he had just committed.
Jesus.
And he really felt like he was ahead of him the whole time. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, I know it's a terrible story. And it is. Even the fucking documentary was rough to get through. And, you know, when they were going through the numbers of it, the sheer, you know, it was like, I felt like I was getting near the end of the documentary. And suddenly it was like, and then there was this person, and there was this person, and there was this person. It was like, fuck. The story is intriguing. Yeah. But I suppose then when you put in like baby murder and getting away with it, and that's what they said, when he's in jail, he's the fucking perfect prisoner.
That's why he got out of it.
That's right? 10 years because he was a perfect prisoner.
Yeah.
Did not put a toe out of line when he was in prison.
It's disgusting.
And as soon as he was out, and he looks disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
He is. If he wasn't a killer, you'd say he's the creepy uncle that fiddles with people.
Yuck.
Yeah, you know,
Yuck, don't.
Kitty fiddler.
Yuck.
But instead, he was a prostitute killer. And it's nasty. And they reckon that was the thing with the baby. He just had no fucking emotion. He was a complete sociopath. Had no fucking emotion towards the baby. Had no feeling towards the baby. So couldn't have that connection with it. So it didn't bother him what happened. That it was just an inconvenience at that point. You know?
Yeah.
It was just lucky. I think the second mother kind of took a bit of charge and said, like, you do this again, we're leaving. Oh, yeah, once
fucking I'm gone. Fucking hell.
Oh, take a page out of Wendy Torrance's book, lock him up into a fucking pantry and get the fuck out of there. Christ. Okay, I will tell you, this is our first episode of Real Monsters, New Real Monsters, and I like New Real Monsters a whole lot more than I liked Real Monsters.
Yeah.
I like Real Monsters, but I didn't have as much freedom, and I wasn't taught
That's stuff it, like it's more free-flowing, it's nice.
This was fun, and I enjoyed this, and I can't wait to do it again next week, so... I can do it more than once a week.
See you 10 o'clock next Sunday.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think this first episode was a success. Yeah, so we gotta see what 4 we pick for next week. You'll know at this point now. People are gonna know, right, when they click on to our page or our Spotify page or iTunes page, whatever, and they see the little clip art next to the album cover art. When they see your face, they'll be like, "Oh, that's okay. That one's a safe one to think." And as soon as they see my face, now I'm one of those. They're just going to think there's booby cutting in this one. Someone's getting their tits chopped off. Turn it on.
That's true. I only pick one every so often that you can do, but I need an easy week.
Oh God. Okay. So you get this free this week on our main stream. If you want to hear this every week, head on over to Patreon. At the moment, it is at Alive Pod. We're currently transitioning into a new page, a more tidy page with everything set up. And we'll get to that soon. But for now, you can go there and we will redirect you when we need to. Right? We will redirect you to the horrors. Ooh. Until next week, see you later.
Bye-bye.